we go. A little bit warmer today. Anyways, this is my second vlog. I'm going to try and mix it up a little bit today instead of just having me talking for 20 minutes like I did last time. I'm going to try and do a little more shooting out the windows and stuff like that. Kind of give you an idea what my day is like. But anyways, got pretty much the same drive I had last week. And yeah, we had a very, very cold weekend. About 36 hours of constant snow. Probably about better part of a foot of snow on the ground now, you know, with everything that came before that. So yeah, been a pretty crappy weekend, and now I get to go do it all over again. So anyways, here we go. See, this is always fun when you're driving in winter and you get lovely, lovely dirty windows like that. See, normally in Wisconsin here, we have two seasons. We have salt season and construction season. And unfortunately, when they start doing big projects, like for instance, they're working on our zoo interchange. It's the one of the biggest intersections, or excuse me, one of the biggest interchanges in all of Wisconsin. So the two merge together, and now we have messy roads, salt all over the place, slush, snow, roads just in general a mess. And then on top of that, we end up with construction everywhere too. One of the worst places to be driving this time of year. So of course we're in the middle of the afternoon driving, and nowhere near rush hour, I guess, at this point in time. But unfortunately, due to construction and just the general poor state of the roads right now, we have to run into traffic. And this is the worst part of doing this job, is having to deal with this crap. Barely 20 miles an hour. That side driving nice and clear, downhill. And unfortunately, here we are driving about 25 miles an hour on the freeway. Finally, back up to some normal driving speeds. This was a little interesting. I hit a pretty good bump, basically a pothole, and all of a sudden I hear some dinging, and then I see this on my dashboard. Maybe a slight, my traction control came on. That's kind of weird. I hope that's not going to be an expensive fix. I'd like to show you guys some scenery shots out of my side window, but unfortunately, that is what it looks like due to all the salt all over the road. All right, well, as I mentioned in my last video, my first vlog doing this, after watching the footage, I wasn't terribly happy with the video quality, so I'm probably going to look into a different camera for this. So, but one of the first thoughts that crossed through my brain today was basically my thoughts on the Electoral College that voted to solidify Donald Trump as our next president yesterday. I don't recall ever hearing so much, I just can't use the word anything else beyond just saying hype about the Electoral College in this country. I mean, you know, it seems like a lot of people just really don't understand why our election system is set up the way that it is set up. I mean, sure, a lot of things have changed in the 200 plus years of this nation, and I think there are things that maybe could be updated because of technology and the way things are in our country. For instance, the amount of time between the election to the point where a president is inaugurated. I know back, when those laws were first put in place, the reason that we do it that way was because people needed time to travel. Now you can get, from one side of the country to the other in 3 hours via plane, and it probably took weeks before when you had to travel by horse and carriage. So clearly there are some things, but when it comes to the Electoral College and the way people were talking about it this election cycle, it really shows that most people don't understand why we do the things that we do in this nation. Now, I understand Hillary Clinton, she won the popular vote by millions of votes. So right there, I can see why people don't like the way things are set up with the Electoral College, because Donald Trump looks to have won the Electoral College, and I mean, almost a landslide victory. It was 300 plus something to like 230 for Hillary Clinton. But Hillary Clinton comes out ahead with, I think it's between 2 or 3 million more popular votes than Donald Trump. So clearly there's a divide when it comes to, there's a terrible sun this time of day, this time of year. But clearly there's a divide when it comes to the popular vote and the electoral vote, and people don't seem to really understand why that is. I'm no expert, but the only thing that I have to say is we've been doing this for over 200 years, and this is not the first time this has happened, and this is not going to be the last time it's happened. But I hear a lot of people wanting to abolish the Electoral College because it does represent the popular vote. And one of the things that I've been hearing is that Hillary Clinton got the majority of the vote. Well, correct me if I'm wrong, but I have to look at the raw numbers. But my understanding of it is that none of the candidates running for president got a majority of the vote this time around. Meaning that nobody got over 50% of the votes for president. So right there, it goes to show you that there were not a lot of good options this time, and people put their votes in third-party candidates probably more than has happened, recently anyways. So Hillary Clinton got the most votes of any candidate this election cycle, but lost the election. And Donald Trump, as we know, got the most electoral votes and won the election. And my understanding of the Electoral College is it's to balance out disparity in population centers across the nation. What that basically means is that the big urban centers and the big cities will not dominate the elections. And I think you can kind of see how if we didn't have the Electoral College, every candidate that runs for president would basically go to Los Angeles, Chicago, New York, Houston, Atlanta, Denver, Seattle, just the biggest cities, and would basically most of the country would become flyover country. And I don't think that would make for our best election cycle. But with the Electoral College the way it currently is, one of the flaws that it does have is that many states, if not most states, are all or nothing when it comes to the electoral votes. For instance, like in a state like California, I don't know what the totals are, but there are millions, if not tens of millions of votes that are cast in California. And I think in the 2012 election, it was stated that Mitt Romney got more votes in California than any other state, but not a single one of them counted towards the electoral vote. And I think the same thing can be said for something like Texas, that every Democrat vote in Texas doesn't count towards the Electoral College. Now, I'm not exactly sure how the vote totals would work out this election cycle, and I'll probably look into that and see if I can add on to this. But I'm not sure how the vote totals would go for this election cycle, But basically what that means is that if each state had a representative number of electoral votes that would go depending on how many votes were for whichever candidate, I think that would be a more, a more fair way to do the Electoral College. And I also think that something like that needs to be looked at more so for the primaries as well, but that's a different topic for another time. But basically, take a state like California, and let's just say it was 8 million votes for Hillary and 5 million for Donald Trump. I just pull the numbers out of the air. So that would be, 8 to 5. So let's just say Donald Trump got, 2/3 of the votes of Hillary. So, let's just put, I think it's like 55 electoral votes that California gets. So that would mean that Donald Trump would get about 22 and Hillary would get, 33 or whatever the math would work out to. That changes the entire the entire dynamic of the Electoral College. And also what that does is that means that instead of doing what the candidates did this election cycle and pretty much all the time, instead of just ignoring a state like California, they actually would go there and the voters would be heard. I'm just interrupting my rant for a second to show you one of the coolest parts of my drive. And of course, my can't get my suction cup for my GoPro to stick back on my window because it's so cold. So I'm just going to finish up this part of this, my thoughts here real quick, by hand, and just say that, when it comes to the Electoral College, I think that video that all those celebrities had released about trying to sway the electors to not vote for Donald Trump, I think that it was more or less ridiculous. I can completely understand why there are a lot of people out there that don't want to see Donald Trump become president. As I've stated before, I think he was a terrible candidate. He won the election, so we have to accept that. And I won't get into any of my opinions on the whole thing, but what those celebrities were trying to do by trying to convince the electors not to vote for Donald Trump, I think it was desperate, I think it was ridiculous, and I think it just really reflected very, very badly on each and every single one of those people that were in that video. The fact that it failed, I think, just makes them look worse. Also, I think that when it, as I was saying before, when it comes to the Electoral College, I do hope that there in the future are some changes made, because to me, I think there are things more important than just, which party wins and which party loses. Unfortunately, it's sad that we only have really two choices in this country because of the way the media has portrayed third parties. As I said before, I consider myself a libertarian, so when it comes to the Democrats and the Republicans, I think they both suck. But what I do think needs to happen is I think there needs to be a representative portion of the popular vote in every state to determine, how many electoral votes are given to each candidate in each election. So while I'm waiting for this traffic to pass, I'm just going to finish up by saying, so if we did proportional electoral votes, I think a lot of those problems would be solved, and you'd see, I think the Electoral College would be a lot more fair and representative of the actual popular vote that's cast in this nation. So that's just my thoughts on the Electoral College and the fact that Donald Trump was just, pretty much locked in the election at this point in time after the electoral vote yesterday. So I'm going to get back to doing some driving here because I got a little bit to do before I get to my pickup. So. All right, well, once again, I'm here at my pickup, so time to go and actually do some work. again, buckle up for safety. So as is to be expected, the sun is starting to set, and before I run out of light here to express any more of my thoughts, I just wanted to share my thoughts on Rogue One, a Star Wars story. Not going to be spoilery or anything like that. Just wanted to give my general thoughts on the movie real quick. I went to see it on opening night, the 7-something showing, one of our wonderful Marcus theaters that we have here in the Milwaukee area. And anyways, overall, I think it was a pretty good Star Wars movie. I think, unfortunately, just like Force Awakens, I think it suffered from a little bit of nostalgia or I guess I should say a little bit of too much nostalgia and a little bit of predictability, which I think overall kind of hurt it. I think knowing obviously the end result of the movie before even seeing it also kind of took away from the story. I think the predictability and what was going to happen with the characters was a little disappointing. The nostalgia of seeing all the original Star Destroyers, seeing Darth Vader, some of the characters that you'll see in Episode 4 was kind of cool. I think that some of the CGI that they used to recreate some of the characters, it was good and acceptable because we know what they were doing. I think that my first thought was thank you, Tron Legacy, for what you did in that movie to kind of set that bar of how to bring younger versions of older people back to the screen. I thought that was cool. Seeing what you really could do with the X-Wings and the Y-Wings and the Star Destroyers and the Death Star, and just kind of goes to show you like how George Lucas was limited at the time when he made the first Star Wars movie, and how things, I think it was an attempt by Disney to go and say, hey, if Star Wars, the original Star Wars was made today, this is how it would have been. And I think I think that it was cool, and I think it was nice to be able to go back to that era, really see Darth Vader on screen for the first time, and what was that 25 years, really the classic Darth Vader, probably 30 years by now. But yeah, I mean overall, I thought it was, for a Star Wars movie, it was great. I think I liked it better than Force Awakens. It was really cool to see a non-episodic tale of Star Wars, and I hope that we get to see more of them. Again, it was a little disappointing in the fact of all the character building that they did with all the characters, that it just, not spoil anything, but it seems like it's going to be a one-off movie, and that, I think that part kind of left you a little bit disappointed in the way things turned out. Overall, I think it's probably somewhere in the neighborhood of the third best Star Wars movie, just given the fact that it was just in general a good movie on its own. Clearly you didn't go see it if you don't know anything about Star Wars, because there was way too much going on that you wouldn't understand if you didn't know your Star Wars already. So I think as a complete movie in and of itself, I think it suffered a bit. So I don't know, I'd probably put it somewhere in the neighborhood of being about a 3.5 out of 5. For many reasons, but again, I thought it was entertaining, enjoyable, nostalgic, suffered from predictability, but ultimately it's a great Star Wars movie. And yeah, so that's my thoughts on Rogue One, a Star Wars story. for those of you that live in Wisconsin, you guys are going to be familiar with what is arguably the best gas station that you can go to, also known as Quick Trip. Yeah, for those that are unaware, and this is not an endorsement, this is just personal experience, Quick Trips are awesome. Definitely one of the best gas station convenience stores that you're going to find in Wisconsin. Pretty much the only gas station / convenience store that I will actually buy food that they sell pre-made. Amazingly, their sandwiches, their chicken tenders, their hot dogs, their fountain drinks, everything is top notch. And to be honest with you, a lot of their breakfast sandwiches, things like that, better than anything you can get from Burger King or McDonald's, and that is for sure. All right, well, anyways, I just finished up my run, made my final drop. Now I'm down here in wonderful Chicago outskirts in Illinois, having to deal with the crazy drivers down here. But anyways, I just took a stop real quick because my car is absolutely filthy, and I think it needs a good rinse off because I can't touch any spot on this car without getting my hands dirty, my pants dirty. If I brush up against it, getting out of the car, it's totally full of salt from all the snow and a couple storms we had recently. So time to clean it up a little bit. You may lose old, crinkled, taped, torn, or wet bills. Well, good thing these are not any of those. There's one. Make sure it goes in the right way. Looks like $2. Awesome. Of course, I know that many of you are wondering why would I wash my car like that when it's a whopping 24 degrees out. Well, the reason being is that I've got over an hour and a half drive yet to get back home. So the way I figure it, car is going to have plenty of time to dry off. It's plenty warm. I don't have to worry about anything freezing up on it because I'll be driving for a while, and I got another run I got to do later tonight. So at least this way now I'm actually going to be able to see out my windows properly. I know it's going to get dirty again and everything like that, but when you can touch the car, swipe your finger across and actually get salt cake off your car, it's definitely time to clean it up. And for two reasons: number one, it's nice to have a clean car, and number two, when I'm representing another company, it's nice not to have your car look like a total mess when you're driving around. So, but anyways, yeah, so that is why I decided to stop and wash my car. So time to hit the road again. So the downside of getting a car wash when it's this cold out is, unfortunately, if you don't wipe off your mirrors, that's what happens to them. Nice frosty mirrors. There we can see the infamous IKEA The only one for hundreds of miles. Every year they decorate this road. It's pretty cool. Gotta love the Christmas season, right? So I've always found this intersection right here to be quite an interesting intersection, because to the right we have Sanders Road, and to the left we have Saunders Road. To be perfectly honest with you, I kind of always thought it was a spelling error when I looked on the maps, until I realized that this intersection has two signs. Sanders Road up there, Saunders Road over there. Yeah, that's kind of weird. Ah, there we go. A sign for home. Let's just make this green arrow. Fantastic. I just got to give the government its due so I can use their lovely highway. So I'm pretty much almost back to Wisconsin, just making a pit stop here at one of the oasis, not exactly sure how you want to say that, but yeah, I don't really have anything else on my mind today that I'm thinking about sharing with you guys. So this is only my second vlog. Going to keep trying a few different things and see what works, what doesn't. Probably thinking about upgrading to a better GoPro that might be better for this, but so far the Hero Plus has been working okay. You know, audio, looking for something that I could actually plug a mic into. It might actually work a little bit better for this, but anyways, yeah, I got about another hour and I'll be home, and it's dark, so there's not a whole lot to see. That's fantastic. So I think I'm going to wrap this one up for now, call this one a day, and appreciate you guys for watching. If you haven't checked out my first one, give it a shot. It's a little bit more of me just talking and a little less of the fun stuff. But anyways, yeah, so thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, you know the drill, and help me grow. And appreciate you checking this thing out. Have a great day, and we'll see you soon.